Yeah, so I was exactly on the previous slide. Let me just get back to that particular slide itself. Yes, so I was on to the particular slide and I was discussing information through schedule, which is a very popular method. The physical collection of data in which the person who's collecting the data has a schedule in hand and asking the questions from the respondents, recording them, bringing the responses back to the researcher, then they're being fed to a computer and all that. The method is pretty much applicable when I talk about the rural areas where the people are not pretty much tech savvy or they do not have the ability to read and write. Then this method is pretty much implemented. So if somebody has a particular product which is more sellable in rural areas, or probably a startup, a service which is more into agriculture products and all that, so this method is becomes very important in order to identify the need of the market and all that stuff. So these are certain methods of primary data collection. When I talk about secondary data collection, then in that particular case there are published and unpublished sources that are available. Most of the published sources are there on internet, and unpublished sources could be like thesis or probably some in the library of some university if it is not published, and you can read those reports. Some unpublished reports are always there. So more or less nowadays everything is online. It is published on one or another particular platform, and like Shodhganga is one of the biggest platforms where the researches are published and the theses are there online. So you can go and see the related theses, and if probably by reading conclusion or references of the thesis, conclusion and recommendations of the thesis, you can identify that what could be the what kind of acceptability of certain kind of things are there if you can find something related. So probably I'm into energy saving sector, and I find a thesis on energy saving and energy consumption, and that particular thesis, if I read the executive summary and all that, so that can give me a lot of idea. A recent PhD can give me a lot of idea about that particular sector, and that can actually improvise my plan to start something up. So these are very important things. That means in secondary data is a desk job. You need to spend a lot of time sitting and reading and analyzing and preparing a report and thinking. So while the primary data collection is more dynamic in nature, you just need to develop the things, you need to go out in the field, adopt one of the methods which I have mentioned, and after adopting these methods, you can collect the data, get the data with you, and then you can analyze and play around with the data. So that is a matter of choice, depending on the time you have, depending on the amount of funds you have, depending on the resources you have, depending on the expertise you have, that what kind of data collection techniques you are going to go for. So nothing is right, nothing is wrong, but degree of authenticity is definitely high in primary data, and so just need to see that how much degree of authenticity can be compromised. So if I'm talking about typical consumer behavior, so probably some element of doubt is always there, so probably I do not require that high level of accuracy. But if I look into the some kind of financial product, then probably the high level of accuracy is required, and a high level of accuracy, or one of the component of accuracy is also the authenticated agency from which I'm getting the data. So depends, it's a very subjective matter, depends from study to study, funds to funds, and expertise to expertise, time to time, that which particular method for the research has to be selected for data has to be selected. So that is another component. Now the question, anybody who is looking forward for becoming an entrepreneur, and at several stages in the business, the person has to identify certain things, the person has to dig certain things, and the tool for digging out these things and finding the answer to number of questions is research. That is pretty simple to understand. That means doesn't matter even if I started the business today, and probably a week after I have a challenge, I want to see the solution to it. I need to, the first and the most handsome and most smart tool is to do the research and then find the solution to the particular problem. It could be a secondary database research, it could be a primary database research. So a student should be or a particular aspirant who's looking forward for entrepreneurship should be an expert, and if he doesn't have like, one thing I've said is you can outsource the whole thing to some agency. That's a different story. But even if you outsource something to entire agency, let us suppose I, for my company X, I want to get a survey done and I give it to a external consultancy, let's say Monkey Survey. They're going to draft a questionnaire and send it back to me, and they will ask me whether you can questionnaire is approved from your side or not. Now I need to have that expertise to understand the questionnaire, right? So giving the expertise of questionnaire for an entrepreneur aspirant enables him to grasp on the tool, which is very important in finding answers to the questions. So questionnaire design, do's and don'ts, certain things I have covered. This must be clear and specific. There are a lot of literature available on this thing, and I think students should be equipped with this particular thing. The aspirants who wants to become an entrepreneur, and certain things which actually I have covered. I'll be giving you some examples of double barrel questions or bias terms or positive and negative questions. So otherwise there are a lot of literature available in the books. So my objective is to tell you is this is one thing which a person who's going for entrepreneurship should know, because that is going to enable him to understand the market. That is going to enable him to understand a lot of questions which are there. So that's why the questionnaire is very important. So there are certain types of questions which I've involved. So you can pick up simple multiple choice questions which are really quick to answer and people enjoy answering them, in fact, rather than going for descriptive questions. So this is one of the examples. There could be rank questions in which you can see where the standing of your particular product with respect to your competitors are there, or probably even if in the competitors who's on the top, who's on the second, who's on the third. So probably I am a startup, I want to fight my competition right from the someone who's last rank. So that is going to give me an idea about identifying that which is my first opponent. So that's a very important part to identify to get the rank of the companies. Of course, this is a very popular Likert scale of agreement, and there are other scales that are available that requires whole lot of discussion, a separate discussion, that what are the different scales of measurements that are available. So some amount of knowledge of scale rating is supposed to be there. Like if you look into this particular question, do you eat lunch always? It's a bad question, right? Because you don't know means how to answer this. But how many times a week you eat lunch at office, that gives you a clear idea. My product could be provide handsome lunch solutions to the people who are working in companies, or probably to a couple where both are working. So this could be my product, that okay, my product is something, I'm a startup, and my product is like if you both of you are working, then you don't have to bother about your lunch. So in that case this question becomes pretty important. So first is a bad question, second is a good question, right? So that is going to give you a clear identification of that what is the potentiality of the market is there in which area. So this is very important, which I'm telling here is negative and positive question. Your entire questionnaire is supposed to be either positive or negative. So this could be the probably last thing which I'm covering because of lack of time. So this is because I found it missing in so many research studies. The flow of questionnaire is supposed to be same. Let us suppose my objective here is to measure that how much satisfied a person is with the policies of the government. So if I am highly satisfied with the policies of the government, so I may have some satisfaction with their foreign policies, with their defense policies, with their home policies, with their financial policies. So I am saying, what I'm trying to say is overall my satisfaction satisfaction from the performance of government comes from the satisfaction from different sectors. Somewhere I'll be a little less satisfied, somewhere I'll be little highly satisfied. So my objective is to understand that how much a person is satisfied with the performance of or policies adopted by this government. Now I broke down the whole question into two parts. One is, the first question is a positive question. I'm satisfied and I need to actually mark a particular Likert scale here. But if you look into the second question, the aim is same, but the question is negative. This should not happen in the same questionnaire, that one is in negative flow and other is in positive flow. The respondents gets confused. So the flow of entire questionnaire is supposed to be either positive or negative. In recent or modern day research practices, 50% of the questionnaires are completely with positive mindset and 50% are with negative mindset. So if I am a person who is actually highly satisfied with the policies of the government, then for first question I may take strongly agree, but in second question I will take somewhere around disagree, but I have to put a lot of brains in it to understand the second question. So in that case the whole questionnaire direction is supposed to be same. Either it is supposed to be in a positive direction, that means or either it's supposed to be a negative direction. It's a little psychological thing. That means once you read the questions twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, then you are able to identify, okay, this is a positive question, this is a negative question. Try to put your foot in the shoe of the respondent and try to identify it. Certain do's and don'ts of questionnaire I have covered. There are a lot of do's and don'ts. Number of questions are supposed to be small. The design is supposed to be attractive. So my point here was to give basically the idea about sampling, idea about data collection, idea about framing an objective. So I'll go from the starting. So this an entrepreneur aspirant should be given the idea about objective formulation, should be given an idea about sampling, should be given an idea about data collection, and primarily importantly should be given an idea about questionnaire drafting, right? and he should be given. Now after the data is collected, I would say the student should be equipped with two basic tools. One is the descriptive statistics and other is the inferential statistics. The fundamentals of this, I'm sorry to say I don't have a slide for that. Probably yes, I don't have it. So what I'm trying to say, you can note it down. MS Excel is the first tool on which you should teach the students descriptive statistics, so they can feed the data, they can easily understand the data. So after collection of data, after designing a question and everything, you should teach the student the coding of data. After coding, an entrepreneur should have the ability or skill to understand, to apply I will talk about Excel and R here because they are open sources and they cut short the cost by a lot. How to do descriptive analysis on it and how to make the decision on the basis of it, and how to make decision, how to actually predict something, how to do simple prediction. When I'm saying about very simple predictive models which are ready made available in Excel and R. So it's not because once the things start, the ball keeps rolling, then probably a person can go for in-depth studies, can take more courses, because research in itself is an ocean, right? So you can't just, because if somebody wants to launch a product in December and he wants to do a 1 week entrepreneurship course, you cannot just kind of give in 30 hours or 40 hours, you cannot just kind of make him expert in the research. So I'm saying whenever you are designing entrepreneurship program at your institution, at your level, just try to involve these things of identification of market. This will at least give a fundamental crisp knowledge to the student. And if you are extending your program, then you should give a little more focus on research methods, designs, developments. Alright, which is pretty important to know, because knowing your business is one of the most important things. So that is it. Thank you very much, and I think my email ID and everything is available with the organizer. You can take it, you can write me for any query if you have. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.